I was sprawled beneath a creaky old Ford, the kind of grueling task that left my back throbbing and my hands steeped in the sharp scent of grease, when the unmistakable sputter of a car choking to a halt echoed just outside my shop. A high-pitched, frantic voice cut through the air. "Hello, is anyone around?" Sliding out from under the chassis, I swiped my hands across my oil-smeared coveralls, the stains a permanent badge of my trade, and turned to see her. Young, strikingly out of place in this rough corner of town, her heels clicked nervously against the cracked concrete as she approached. "My car broke down," she said, gesturing toward a glossy black sedan parked crookedly at the curb, its sleek lines clashing with the gritty surroundings. It didn't belong here, and neither did she, her polished demeanor like a beacon in the dimness of my world. "You've found the right place," I said, my voice steady, though the contrast between her elegance and the shop's worn-out facade wasn't lost on me. "Pop the hood, let me have a look." She hesitated, her eyes flicking to her phone as if it held a better solution. "Can you fix it fast? I'm on a tight schedule," she said, her tone clipped with urgency. "Let's see what I'm dealing with first," I replied, already reaching for my toolbox, the familiar weight of the tools grounding me. As I inspected the engine, it was clear she knew nothing about cars. Her blank stare when I mentioned the nearly dry radiator and loose wiring spoke volumes. She bit her lip, a flicker of worry crossing her face. "Can you fix it or not?" "I can fix it," I said, suppressing a chuckle at her impatience, "but it'll take a couple of hours." She let out a groan, pacing in those impractical heels, each step a sharp tap against the concrete. "Fine, I'll wait," she muttered, her frustration palpable, hanging like a storm cloud in the air. I dove into the work, the rhythm of it steadying my thoughts, blocking out her restless energy. By the time I finished, the sun was sinking, painting the sky in hues of amber, and she was leaning against the wall, engrossed in her phone, oblivious to the world around her. "All done," I said, wiping my hands and standing, the ache in my shoulders a quiet reminder of the day's labor. Her relief was immediate, her posture softening. "Finally, thank you. How much do I owe you?" I gave her a fair price, one that reflected the hours spent under the hood. She blinked, then rummaged through her designer purse, pulling out a thick stack of cash. "Keep the change," she said brusquely, thrusting far more than I'd asked into my hands. "That's too much," I protested, the weight of the bills foreign in my grip, but she was already striding toward her car, her heels clicking with purpose. "Call it a tip," she called over her shoulder, sliding into the driver's seat. The engine roared to life and she was gone, the sound fading into the twilight, leaving me staring at the empty street, a mix of confusion and curiosity stirring in my chest. I didn't dwell on it long. That night, as I was about to settle down with a cold drink and the game flickering on my old TV, a sharp knock at the door jolted me. Opening it, I found a man in a crisp suit, an envelope in his hand, his polished appearance jarring against the peeling paint of my modest home. "Mr. Liam?" he asked, his voice smooth, professional. "Yeah," I replied cautiously, my hand resting on the doorframe. "Who's asking?" He extended the envelope. "I'm here on behalf of Miss Emma Watson." The name didn't register until he added, "The woman whose car you repaired today." I frowned, my mind replaying the day's events. "Is there an issue with the fix?" I told her it should run smoothly now. "It's not about the repair," he cut in, his tone neutral but firm. "Miss Watson wishes to express her gratitude personally. She has a unique way of doing so." I eyed the envelope, my gut tightening with unease. This felt like more than a simple thank you. "Can I come in?" he asked, his posture unwavering. I stepped aside, letting him into my small living room, where his gaze briefly swept over the faded wallpaper and second-hand furniture, a silent judgment in his eyes. "Make yourself at home," I said, a trace of sarcasm lacing my words, though my heart pounded with uncertainty. He didn't sit, instead handing me the envelope with a deliberate motion. "Miss Watson instructed me to deliver this to you herself. She values those who go beyond the call of duty." I opened it cautiously, my rough hands brushing against the smooth paper. Inside was a check. My breath caught as I read the amount. $50,000. "This has to be a mistake," I muttered, my voice barely above a whisper, the number blurring in my vision. "No mistake," he assured me, his tone steady. "Miss Watson has her reasons." "What reasons?" I asked, suspicion creeping into my voice, my fingers tightening around the check. "I fixed her car, not her entire existence." He offered a faint smile, almost amused. "She's a private individual, but let's say she cherishes acts of kindness, especially from those who expect nothing in return." I stared at the check, my mind racing, the weight of it heavier than the paper itself. 50 grand could erase my debts, breathe new life into the shop, maybe even let me dream of something beyond the daily grind. But there had to be a catch. Nothing this good came without strings. "What's the condition?" I asked, my voice thick with wariness. "No condition," he replied smoothly, his eyes unreadable. "It's a gift, plain and simple." I didn't buy it, not entirely. People like her didn't toss around money like confetti. Still, I nodded, slipping the check back into the envelope, my hands trembling slightly. "If she needs more car repairs, she knows where to find me," I said, trying to lighten the moment, though my heart wasn't in it. He gave a polite nod and turned to leave. "Enjoy your evening, Mr. Liam. Take care." The next day I was still wrestling with the surreal events when a black SUV rolled up outside my shop, its sleek frame gleaming under the morning sun. Out stepped Emma Watson herself, no longer the frazzled woman from yesterday. Now she exuded confidence, every inch the poised CEO, her presence commanding the space around her. "Miss Watson," I said, wiping my hands on a rag, the familiar motion grounding me. "Didn't expect to see you again so soon." "Call me Emma," she said, her smile soft but assured. "I wanted to thank you in person." "Didn't your lawyer already take care of that?" I replied, trying to mask the nerves twisting in my gut. She laughed, a gentle sound that eased the tension. "I suppose he did, but I believe gratitude is best delivered face to face." There was a sincerity in her voice that caught me off guard, stirring a warmth I hadn't expected. She stepped closer, her eyes scanning the shop, taking in the cluttered tools and faded signs. "This is your business?" "For better or worse," I said, a wry edge to my voice. "Mostly worse these days." Her expression softened, a flicker of empathy in her gaze. "You're skilled at what you do, Liam. You could charge twice as much and people would still come to you." "Not around here," I replied, shaking my head. "Folks don't have that kind of money." Emma nodded, her expression thoughtful, as if weighing something important. "What if I told you I could change that? Not just for you, but for this entire neighborhood?" I frowned, my skepticism rising. "What are you talking about?" Her smile turned enigmatic, a spark of possibility in her eyes. "I have a proposal, but it's not something we can discuss here. Are you free for dinner tonight?" Dinner with her? The idea sent a jolt through me, equal parts flattery and suspicion. "I don't usually mix business with meals," I said cautiously, my voice betraying my uncertainty. "Then consider it a favor," she replied, her tone firm yet inviting, leaving no room for argument. "Pick me up at 8. I'll send you the address." And just like that, she was gone, leaving me staring after her, my mind a tangle of questions. The rest of the day passed in a haze, my thoughts circling back to her words. By the time I pulled up to the upscale restaurant she'd chosen, my nerves were frayed, my old truck looking like a relic among the luxury cars in the lot. Inside, Emma waited at a private table, dressed impeccably, her ease a stark contrast to my discomfort. "You clean up well," she said as I sat, her eyes twinkling with amusement, a warmth that softened the edge of my unease. "Thanks," I replied gruffly, feeling like a fish out of water in the elegant setting. She didn't waste time with small talk, her expression turning serious. "You're probably wondering why I'm doing all this." "The thoughts crossed my mind," I admitted, my voice low, my hands fidgeting under the table. She leaned forward, her gaze steady. "I grew up in a place like this. People looked out for each other, but they had little to spare. My father was a mechanic like you. He taught me the value of hard work and the importance of giving back." I stared, trying to reconcile the poised woman before me with the story she shared, her words carrying a quiet weight that resonated deep within me. "And you think handing me a check is giving back?" I asked, my tone skeptical but curious. "That's just the beginning," she said, her voice alive with conviction. "I want to invest in you, your shop, your skills. Together, we could build something bigger, something that lifts this whole community." Her words hung in the air, a promise that felt like a key to a door I'd never dared open. "Invest in me," I repeated, the words foreign on my tongue, as if saying them aloud might make them real. Emma nodded, her eyes bright with purpose. "You have talent, Liam, and more importantly, integrity. Those are rare. I see potential not just in your work, but in what you could do for this community with the right support." "Why me?" I asked, my skepticism lingering like a shadow. "There are better mechanics out there, bigger shops." She raised a hand, silencing me with a gentle gesture. "I didn't choose you because you're the best mechanic in the world. I chose you because you're the kind of person who'd fix a stranger's car without trying to squeeze every penny out of them. That's the kind of person I want to work with." Her words hit like a spark, igniting something in me I hadn't felt in years. I didn't know what to say. Part of me wanted to seize the opportunity, while another part feared it was too good to be true. "What's the catch?" I asked finally, my voice heavy with caution. Her lips curved into a faint smile, warm but resolute. "No catch. Just hard work and a shared vision. If you're interested, we'll draw up the paperwork and get started. If not, keep the check, no strings attached." She leaned back, her confidence unshakable. "But something tells me you won't walk away." I didn't walk away. Over the next few days, Emma laid out her plan with meticulous care, her passion infectious. She wanted to expand my shop, bring in top-tier equipment, and launch training, programs for local kids to learn a trade. It sounded like a dream too grand for my small world, but her conviction made it feel possible. She wasn't just throwing money at a problem. She had a clear strategy, and she saw me as its cornerstone. By the end of the week, I'd signed the papers, my heart pounding with a mix of fear and hope. The transformation began almost immediately. Emma brought in a crew to overhaul the shop, tearing down the rusted walls that had stood for years and replacing them with sleek, modern panels. Watching the change unfold felt like watching my life being rebuilt piece by piece, the old giving way to something new and full of promise. Emma was there every day, her presence a steady force, overseeing the project with a determination that left no room for doubt. "You're not just fixing cars anymore," she told me one afternoon as we stood amid the construction, the air thick with sawdust and possibility. "You're building a legacy." Her words sank deep, stirring a sense of purpose I hadn't felt in years, a belief that I could be part of something greater than myself. But not everyone shared the vision. Some local mechanics saw me as a sellout, their resentment sharp and vocal. "Think you're better than us now?" one sneered, storming into the shop, his voice dripping with disdain. "I'm just trying. Something different," I replied, keeping my tone even, though my chest tightened with frustration. "Yeah, with her money," he shot back, gesturing toward Emma, who was discussing plans with a contractor across the room. I clenched my fists, the urge to lash out rising, but before I could respond, Emma stepped in, her presence commanding. "Is there an issue?" she asked, her voice cold enough to chill the air. The guy muttered something under his breath and slunk away, his bravado deflated. "You don't have to fight my battles," I said once he was gone, my voice low but grateful. "I know," she replied, her eyes meeting mine with quiet strength, "but I won't let anyone undermine what we're building here." Her words were a lifeline, pulling me back from the edge of doubt. As the shop began to take shape, so did my life, the weight of years spent just scraping by lifting with each new change. For the first time in a long time, I felt like I was moving forward, not just treading water, but progress brought new challenges. Emma's constant presence sparked whispers, rumors that our relationship was more than professional, that I was chasing personal gain. At first, I brushed it off, focusing on the work. But when an old friend confronted me, the accusations stung. "You think I'm doing this for myself?" I snapped, my voice raw with frustration. "You think I'd risk everything for a paycheck?" "I don't know what to think," he admitted, his eyes clouded with doubt. "But people are talking. And it's not just about the shop." I knew what he meant, but I refused to dignify the gossip with a response. My focus was the work, the dream we were building, and I wouldn't let rumors derail it. Emma, unfazed by the chatter, shrugged when I brought it up one evening. "Let them talk," she said, her voice calm but firm, a spark of defiance in her eyes. "People always find something to complain about. Keep your eyes on what matters." Her confidence was a balm, but the whispers still gnawed at me, a reminder of the cost of change. Still, I threw myself into the project, determined to prove the skeptics wrong, to show them this was about more than money. The grand reopening was set for 3 months later, and as the date approached, I pushed myself to the limit, working late into the night to ensure every detail was perfect. Emma was right there with me, her energy a constant spark, driving us forward. "This place will be a beacon for the community," she said one night as we locked up, her voice alive with hope, her words painting a picture of a brighter future. "I can feel it in my bones." Her belief fueled mine, and I held onto it like a lifeline. The day of the grand reopening arrived like a storm, charged with excitement and tension. The once dilapidated shop was now a gleaming facility, equipped with state-of-the-art tools, a welcoming waiting area, and a dedicated space for the community classes Emma had envisioned. Neighbors gathered outside, their faces a mix of curiosity and skepticism, their murmurs a quiet hum in the air. The ribbon-cutting ceremony felt surreal, like a moment from someone else's life. When Emma handed me the oversized scissors, I nearly laughed, the weight of the moment pressing against my chest. "This is your moment, Liam," she said softly, her voice steady and encouraging, her eyes shining with pride. I cut the ribbon to cheers and applause, the sound washing over me like a wave, but I caught sight of a few familiar faces in the crowd, those who stood apart, their eyes cold with doubt, their silence louder than the cheers. The first few weeks were a whirlwind of activity. Business surged, the shop buzzing with new customers, and the training program for local kids became an instant hit. Watching young faces light up as they learned to work with their hands, discovering the same passion for fixing things that had shaped my life, filled me with a joy I hadn't known was possible. Each turn of a wrench in their hands felt like a small victory, a step toward a better future. But not everything was smooth. Some rival mechanics grew bolder, their resentment spilling over into malicious rumors that I'd sold out to corporate greed, that Emma was using me as a pawn in some hidden scheme. The whispers stung, but I pushed them aside, focusing on the kids, the shop, the dream. One evening I found the word traitor scrawled in bold red paint across the shop's wall, the letters jagged and angry. Emma arrived as I was scrubbing it off, her face hardening at the sight, her eyes blazing with resolve. "Who did this?" she demanded, her voice like steel, cutting through the evening air. "I don't know," I admitted, my hands trembling with frustration as I scrubbed harder. "But it doesn't matter, I'll handle it." "It does matter," she said firmly, stepping closer, her presence a steady anchor. "This isn't just about you, Liam. It's about what we're building, what it means to these people. I won't let anyone tear it down." Her words were a vow, and true to them, she took action, hiring a security team and insisting on installing cameras around the shop. "It's overkill," I argued, my voice heavy with doubt. But she shook her head, her expression unyielding. "When you're making real change, you stir up resistance. This isn't overkill, it's precaution, a shield for what we're creating." Her resolve was unshakable, and I couldn't help but admire her strength, her fire. But as the tension grew, doubts crept in, gnawing at the edges of my resolve. Was this worth it? The whispers, the hostility, the constant pressure. One night, as we locked up, Emma sensed my hesitation, her eyes reading me like an open book. "You're doubting yourself," she said, her voice soft but piercing. "I'm doubting a lot," I admitted, my gaze fixed on the ground, the weight of it all pressing down. "Mostly, I'm wondering why you're still here. You don't need this fight." She looked at me, her expression softening, a flicker of vulnerability in her eyes. "Maybe I do," she said quietly. "My father used to say the only way to make your life mean something is to leave the world better than you found it. This is my way of honoring that." Her words hit like a thunderbolt, and for the first time I saw how deeply personal this was for her, how it was tied to her past, her purpose. They stirred something in me, reigniting my own resolve. Things escalated a week later when a rival mechanic, Tom, showed up with two buddies, their presence heavy with menace. "Think you're better than us now?" he spat, his voice loud enough to draw every eye in the shop. I stepped outside, keeping my posture relaxed, though my heart pounded. "I'm not better than anyone, Tom. I'm just trying to run my business." "Your business?" he scoffed, his sneer cutting deep. "This isn't yours anymore, it's hers." He jabbed a finger toward Emma's office, where she was meeting with a supplier. "Watch your mouth," I said, my voice low, a warning edge to it. Before I could say more, Emma appeared at the door, her presence commanding. "Is there a problem?" she asked, her voice calm but carrying an authority that silenced the room. Tom's bravado faltered for a moment, but he rallied. "Yeah, there's a problem. People around here don't like what you're doing." "People?" she repeated, raising an eyebrow, her tone sharp with challenge. "Or just you?" The tension was thick, the air heavy with unspoken threats. I stepped in before it could escalate further. "We're done here, Tom. If you've got something to say it to me. Leave her out of it." Tom glared, his eyes burning with resentment, but he backed off, muttering curses as he and his friends walked away. After they left, Emma turned. To me, her expression unreadable. "That won't be the last time someone tries to intimidate you." "I can handle it," I said, though I wasn't sure if I was convincing her or myself, the weight of the encounter lingering. "I know you can," she replied, her voice steady, "but you don't have to do it alone." Her words carried a deeper meaning, not just about the shop, but about the partnership we were forging, the shared dream that bound us. Over the months, the shop transformed into a cornerstone of the community. We hosted free repair clinics, helping struggling families keep their cars running, and gave local kids a chance to learn skills that could change their lives. Each wrench they turned, each spark of understanding in their eyes felt like a victory, a testament to what we were building. Emma's vision was coming to life, and I was proud to stand at its heart, my hands and heart invested in its success. But the more successful we became, the louder the whispers grew, the resentment simmering beneath the surface. I began to wonder if the cost of this dream, hostility, rumors, the constant fight, was too high. The tension reached a boiling point one night as I locked up the shop, the streets unnaturally quiet, an eerie stillness that set my nerves on edge. I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched, a prickle at the back of my neck. As I headed to my truck, 3 figures emerged from the shadows, led by Tom, his eyes glinting with malice. "Working late, huh?" he sneered, his voice dripping with menace, each word a blade. "What do you want?" I asked, keeping my voice steady, though my pulse raced. "To remind you where you came from," he said, stepping closer, his presence suffocating. "You think you're a big deal now with her money backing you." "Walk away, Tom," I warned, my voice firm, though fear coiled in my gut. He laughed, a harsh, grating sound that echoed in the empty street. "Or what? You gonna call your fancy CEO to come save you?" My fists clenched, my pulse hammering in my ears, the urge to fight rising. "I don't need anyone to save me," I said, my voice low but resolute. "But I won't fight you, not here, not now." "That's what I thought," he mocked, turning to leave. But his final words lingered like a threat. "This isn't over, Liam. Not by a long shot." When I told Emma about the confrontation the next day, her face darkened with fury, her pacing restless in my small office. "This has gone too far," she said, her voice tight with anger, her hands clenched. "I can handle Tom," I assured her, though doubt gnawed at me, the weight of his threats heavy. "It's not just Tom," she countered, her eyes blazing. "It's everyone who thinks they can bully you into giving up. They don't see what we're trying to do. They see a threat to their way of life." "Then let them see it," I said, my voice firm, a spark of defiance rising. "I'm not giving up, not on this shop, not on these kids, and not on what we've built together." Emma stopped pacing, her expression softening, a flicker of pride in her eyes. "You really believe in this, don't you?" "I do," I said, my voice steady, the truth of it anchoring me. "And I'm not backing down." Her resolve strengthened, a fire reignited. Emma began organizing community meetings, inviting local leaders to discuss ways to improve the neighborhood, her passion infectious. Slowly, skeptics began to see the bigger picture, their doubts giving way to cautious hope. But Tom and his crew didn't relent. They escalated their harassment, slashing tires on cars parked outside the shop, spreading vicious rumors that cut deeper than I cared to admit. One night, they threw a brick through my house's window, the crash shattering. The quiet, the jagged glass, a stark reminder of their anger. Emma insisted on involving the police, her voice firm, but I hesitated, fear of retaliation gnawing at me. "That'll just make things worse," I said, my voice heavy with worry. "And doing nothing lets them think they can get away with it," she argued, her eyes fierce with determination. "We compromised. Emma hired private security for the shop and my home, and I kept a vigilant eye on everything, my senses sharpened by the constant threat. It felt like a temporary fix, a bandage on a wound that refused to heal, but it kept things from spiraling out of control, for now." Meanwhile, the shop thrived, its pulse stronger with each passing day. The training program expanded, drawing more kids eager to learn, their enthusiasm a bright spot in the storm. We partnered with local businesses to offer apprenticeships, giving those young hands a chance to build a future. Watching their progress, seeing the spark of possibility, in their eyes was one of the most rewarding experiences of my life, a reminder of why I kept going despite the challenges. But beneath the surface, the pressure continued to build, a storm waiting to break. I knew Tom wasn't finished, his resentment a fire that wouldn't die. The sense of an impending clash hung over me, a shadow I couldn't shake. That clash came one fateful night, the air thick with tension as I worked late, the shop quiet except for the hum of my tools. A sudden crash shattered the silence, glass breaking sharp and jarring. Rushing outside, I found the shop's front window in pieces, Tom standing there, a crowbar gripped tightly in his hand, his eyes wild with anger. "This ends now," he growled, his voice low and menacing, each word a challenge. Adrenaline surged, my heart pounding as we faced off, the world narrowing to the space between us. "You've been a thorn in my side for too long," Tom spat, his voice dripping with venom. "Time someone put you in your place." "You don't scare me," I said, my voice steady despite the fear bubbling beneath, my hands ready at my sides. He swung the crowbar, the motion swift and dangerous, but I dodged, my instincts kicking in. The fight was chaotic, a blur of grappling and traded blows, my body moving on instinct as we clashed in the dark. The sound of sirens cut through the air, sharp and piercing, and the police arrived just in time to break us apart. Tom was arrested, his shouts echoing as they led him away, leaving me bruised and exhausted, my breath ragged in the cold night air. Emma showed up at the station to pick me up, her face etched with concern, her eyes searching mine. "This has to stop," she said as we drove home, her voice tight with worry, her hands gripping the wheel. "It will," I promised, though my voice wavered, the weight of the night pressing down. "Tom's out of the picture now, he won't bother us anymore." But even as I spoke, a nagging doubt lingered, a whisper that this wasn't the end. With Tom gone, things settled on the surface, a fragile calm descending. The shop flourished, its doors open wide to the community, the kids thriving in their training, their laughter and focus a daily reminder of what we'd built. The neighborhood began to rally around us, their skepticism giving way to pride in what the shop represented. But I couldn't shake the unease, the sense that success always came with a price, that another storm was brewing just beyond the horizon. Emma, ever the optimist, poured herself into the project with unwavering dedication, her passion a steady light in the uncertainty. Her belief in the dream reignited my own, pulling me back from the edge of doubt. One day, as we stood in the shop, watching the kids work, their hands deft and eager, she turned to me, her voice soft but powerful. "This is what it's all about, Liam. Giving people hope, a chance to build something better, to rise above where they started." Her words struck a chord, echoing the reason I joined this journey, the spark that had kept me going through the hardest days. As weeks turned to months, the shop became more than a business. It became a symbol of resilience, a beacon of hope for the entire community. Emma and I worked tirelessly, our shared vision binding us closer, our efforts weaving a tapestry of change. Slowly but surely, the whispers of doubt and resentment faded, replaced by voices of support, of gratitude. In the end, the journey wasn't just about fixing cars or building a business. It was about proving that change, real and lasting, was possible, even in the face of adversity. Emma's vision had transformed not only the shop, but the lives of everyone it touched, including mine. Standing in the heart of the thriving community we'd built together, I looked around at the faces of the kids, the neighbors, the future we'd shaped, and I knew, deep in my bones, that the struggle had been worth it. For the first time in my life, I felt I was exactly where I was meant to be, my heart full with the weight of purpose, my hands steady with the knowledge that we'd built something that would endure.